Hi there. Welcome to Your Love Talk. I am so happy that you've joined me today. And listen, if you have not yet subscribed to this podcast, please do so by clicking on the subscribe or follow link. I will be able to provide you new and inspiring episodes each week. So today, I'm going to be talking about breaking up with limiting beliefs. Wow, that's a topic. And believe me, most of us have them, and we don't even realize that we do. It's really about what are we telling ourselves. So it's defined as any negative thought patterns that we believe to be true that's keeping us from accomplishing our goals. And an example of that is we may think that we're never going to be successful or we're never going to be financially stable. Whatever those negative thoughts are, we believe that they're gospel, but they're really not. So you wonder, where do they come from? Well, oftentimes they come from our caretakers growing up. Maybe they told us that, we're never going to be successful. Or they may tell us that, you're not as smart as your brother or sister. Or maybe they come from your teacher or some significant person in your life, or a friend, or even a partner. And they may say, you know what, you're not that smart. You are too much. You are not going to be successful, whatever those things are. And we think it's true. Sometimes they come from societal expectations. And society might say, you know what, you're 30 years old, you're not married yet, something's wrong with you. Or you may hear, you know what, you're 40 years old, you haven't had a child yet. So these are some negative things that we hear and we begin to believe them and we tell ourselves them. And we don't even realize sometimes it may not be a verbal thing, but it might be a nonverbal thought that's going through our minds that's saying, you know what, something's wrong with me. And I'm telling you, it's really important to be able to identify them and to be able to realize that this is not true. I remember listening to the podcast for Les Brown. He talked about growing up and how he struggled in school and he had a twin. And he talked about that he was the twin that the teachers thought that he was never going to accomplish anything, that he really couldn't learn. And look at him now, he is amazing, inspiring, making millions of dollars, being able to help other people, being a motivational speaker. So you have to remember it's important to know your truth and to be able to stand up for what is true for you. And I want to also tell you an example in my life. One of the things that actually happened to me, after graduating at 17 from high school, I went to a university. I was living in Canada at the time. And, my first month, I was writing a paper and handed it in. And then I got it back from my professor. And lo and behold, there were red marks all over the paper. And I did not get the best of grades. It was not good. So I remember, okay, what do I do with this? I said, well, I'm going to have to figure out how to get some help. So I went to the professor, and actually there was a line. There was other students waiting for him. I did not want to be first because I did not want anyone to see my grade or to hear me telling him that I needed help. So I waited, and that was the last one. And so when I finally approached him, I said, you know what? I don't know what I did wrong. Can you sort of help advise me so I can do better the next time? And this is what he said. He said, you don't belong here. Yep, that's what he said. And I stood there for a minute, a little stunned, and he walked away. And I really didn't know what to do, what to say. I actually started thinking, I thought, well, you know what? Maybe this work is too hard for me. Maybe I'm not going to be able to do this to graduate. And I actually thought, you know what? Maybe, this is not what I should be pursuing. But it was only for about a minute because right after that, my thought was, who is he to tell me that I can't do this? So I'm going to have to figure out then how to do well and how to graduate. So I worked twice as hard, maybe 3 times as hard. I studied. I did whatever I could do to get help from other people. And I was able to pass all my classes, and I was able to graduate and get a BA in psychology and a bachelor in social work as well. And I was so actually happy with myself and so proud of myself for being able to do that, because I know I worked hard. And you know what? I decided that probably about 3 years later to pursue a master's in social work. And I decided to move to the United States, and I went to Howard University. Hey, Howard. And interestingly enough, there was a professor there. And the professor asked the class, he said, how many of you will continue on and pursue a doctorate? And did not put my hands up, and other people did not put their hands up, only a few. And the reason why I didn't put my hand up is really not because I couldn't do it. It's really because I was just tired of studying, and I was like, master's level, I'm done. However, he followed up with a second question. He said, how many of you believe that you have the ability to actually complete a doctorate degree? And the majority of the students put their hands up. I was one of them. And I loved the question because it wasn't so much that we couldn't do it, it was a choice that we actually had. And so it made me reflect back to the professor when I was in Canada and what he told me, and how he didn't believe in my ability to actually even graduate, to a professor who believed that any one of us can actually finish our degree and go on and get a doctorate degree. And it was so inspiring to me. So I want you to remember that people may put limitations on you, but you have to remember that you don't have to put limitations on yourself. If I actually had stopped and not pursue my bachelor's degree because of this first professor, I would not be where I am today. I had to change the limitations that he put on me and decide for myself how I wanted to define what I wanted to accomplish in life. And what happened later on, years later, I decided after working for a number of years that I want to go back to school. And I did decide to go back and get my doctorate degree. And I will tell you what was interesting was, because it was a different time, feel like a different world, I went back to school and it was online. And I realized that online world was not the world I was used to. So after a week of being in that class, it was a summer accelerated class, I dropped out. I did. I decided that it was too much for me. I couldn't get into the classroom. The discussion board was driving me crazy, and I quit. Well, about 2 days later, I said to myself, what did I just do? I actually quit, and I can't believe I gave up. And so I actually decided to pray. I said, God, I don't know even why I'm pursuing a doctorate degree, but somehow within my spirit, I feel I need to do it. And I actually quit without even asking for help. So I'm going to email my professor, and if she says, yes, come back in, then I know that's your answer for me to continue to do this work. And sure enough, she emailed me back and she said, you should have talked to me before you quit. No worries, come back in and I'll give you extra time to catch back up. And, if you need extra time beyond that, just let me know. So I was able to get back into the program. And now I was able to finish with a doctorate in counseling psychology. So it's amazing what you're able to accomplish, even when you have obstacles and you think, you know what, can I really do this? Believe in yourself. Believe that you can. And if you don't give up, you just never know what blessings is waiting for you. So you may ask the question, how do I break up with limiting beliefs if I have them? Well, the first thing that you have to do is to identify that you do have them. You have to remember to think through or document or journal, what are my thoughts telling me? What am I telling myself? And if you realize that you're telling yourself a lot of negative messages, then yeah, that's a problem. And so the next thing you got to do then is to identify where they come from. Why am I having these belief systems? And so identify if they're coming from what you've been told from your childhood, what you've been told by your teachers, what you've been told by your spouse or some partner, wherever they're coming from. remember that they're not yours, they're somebody else's. So you have to figure out then, what are your belief systems and why are you giving yourself these negative messages? The next thing you do is you challenge them. You say, does this make sense? If I'm telling myself I'm not going to be successful, does it really make sense? Because when you think about it, have I been successful before? Have I done other things and have accomplished them? If you have, then you know that you can actually accomplish something that you are desiring. So you have to learn to refute these negative messages, challenge them, and begin to realize that, yeah, you know what? These thoughts are not real. And then the next thing that you do is you change your narrative, you have a different story, you create something new. You begin to say, you know what? I can actually accomplish this. I can actually do this. I actually can believe that I can have a new story. And you begin to speak it and you begin to write it and you begin to set goals so that you can actually see the manifestation of them. And the last thing that you do is you open yourself up to new possibilities. You begin to realize that, you know what? All those fears that I actually had that kept me from doing something new, I don't have to have them anymore. I can just decide that, you know what? I'm going to try to do something different. I'm going to begin a new experience. And I'm going to not be afraid to step my feet out in something that I've never done before. And when you begin to do that, you'll begin to see change. And I tell my clients this when I see them when they're struggling with limiting beliefs. I say, you know what? Let's get a piece of paper. And I have them write negative beliefs on the paper, and I have them put circles all over the paper. And in those circles, I want them to write some of those negative beliefs that they actually are telling themselves. And it could be what they're telling themselves or also what other people have told them. So I get them to list all these beliefs that are negatives, and I say to them, how do you feel? And many of them will just start crying and they will say, wow, this is the things I've been told that I've been telling myself. And then I tell them, okay, you know what? Let's take another piece of paper. And I want you to write positive beliefs. And I want you to be able to put circles all around that paper as well. And I want you to write in the circles the things that you wish you had heard. Write them down in that circle. And also, maybe there are positive things that you did receive, whether it's from your caretakers or from other people that do care about you. What are those positive things? Write them all down. And I want you to begin to see the difference of who you are. And even if you didn't hear them, write down the things you want to hear anyway. And I want you to compare that list. And so I want you to begin to speak those words, those positive words that you've now written down, and let them sink in, because that is your truth. And then I get them to then work on a narrative of rewriting their story. So they will write down, as if it's happening today, the things that they are desiring and dreaming of. It's not, I wish I could do this. It's, I am this. I am successful. I am lovable. I am capable. All those I ams that's going to help them to be able to believe a different story and a different narrative. And I want them to open up to the possibilities of dreaming and knowing that blessings is in store for them if they just begin to believe it. So I'm going to leave you with some affirmations, and I want you to begin to really think about them. The first one is, I can rewrite my story regardless of my beginning. So it doesn't matter how you started, it's really where you're going and how you're going to end up. The second is, I speak words of life to myself and release all negative messages. So no matter what people have told you, begin to speak those words of life. I am lovable. I am capable. I'm a child of God. I can do amazing things. I am successful, whatever those things are. I am worthy to receive all that I deserve. And that is so true. You deserve so much. So speak those words into existence and believe them. And the last thing I'm going to give you for another affirmation is, I think positively about myself regardless of what others think about me. So people may think that you can't be successful or can't do certain things, but you don't have to believe it. Believe that you can. And I want you to remember how much you are loved because you are made by the Creator. Believe that you are going to receive favor, that you can step out in faith and to be able to accomplish things if you begin to believe them. So today, make it a day that you start to get rid of limiting beliefs and to be able to open yourself up to possibilities. That's from my Love Talk affirmation card. So if you want to have more affirmations, you can actually do so by going to yourlovetalk.com, as well as if you want to get my book, Mended, Healing Your Heart After a Broken Relationship, it's available there too. So thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, you are love, you are light, and you are a blessing to others. Thank you so much for being here today. This is Dr. Beverley from Your Love Talk. Blessings.